everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mercury, and in today's video, as a continuation from my last video, we're doing Mercury in Taurus through the houses. My previous video, I just kind of touched base on what Mercury in Taurus energy is exuded like. I explained themes of, being consistent and being practical whenever they say anything, and making sure that whenever they say something, it's factual first of all, but it also has a practical foundation, and something that is very to the point and very simple to understand. And they like to simplify their thoughts, and they like to make sure that their thoughts are so simple that anyone can understand them. I start with Mercury in Taurus in the first house, right? So Mercury in Taurus, we know the first house is about yourself, your personality, things that you're personally involved in, your personal affairs, personal insecurities, personal endeavors. I think I'm saying that word right. Just anything that you go through personally, how you see yourself, really. Excuse me, as opposed to your 7th house, where how do I see myself through the lenses of somebody else. Your first house is how do I see myself, and how do the relationship that I have with myself. So having Taurus here for my Taurus risings, essentially you have this aura of kind of loving and appreciating and building on to their personality and building on to their personal values or even personal insecurities. So these are the type of people that may look, or whenever they speak about things that they are going through that are bad or whatever, they may it'll come across as they appreciate this type of thing. And I think essentially they do appreciate it, because that Venusian thing is there, and it's something that it's theirs. It's like I have, Taurus is ruled by the 2nd house, which is the house of I have. So if you have I have in your I am personality, in your I am house, the first house, then you have, it's like you hold onto your personal insecurities, and you hold on to the things that you go through personally. You hold on to the things that you love and appreciate, as a personal human being with your own individuality. But the positive aspect to that is that you appreciate yourself. These are the type of people that appreciate the fact that they do have insecurities, the fact that they do have specific things about themselves that they like. That type of, it's like they're very stable and very they're very stable in disliking themselves. These are the type of people, if they grew up in a house where everyone hated them, they may be happy, or they may value the fact that they are like that everybody hates them. It's weird. It's a very weird thing. But anyway, having Mercury in the first house in Taurus, I feel once again, very, like I said, Taurus Mercuries are very, reserved and quiet unless they actually have something to say. So I feel having it in the first house kind of just amplify. I see, and I'm gonna say this for the first and the 2nd house, but having it in the first house, this makes somebody a lot more reserved, unless it's something for example, let's say I talk to a Mercury in Taurus person in the first house, and I tell them about my life and whatever. If they can't necessarily relate to that, then they won't say anything, because how they're going to process that information is, okay, does that have anything to do with me? Have I gone through something similar? Do I know someone that's gone through something similar? Do I care about it? At the same time, does it have anything to do with me? No? Well, guess I have nothing to say about it then. And they have nothing to say about it then. So if it doesn't really involve them, if it doesn't involve the self, then they won't really contribute to a conversation. But if it does, or if you're coming, I think this is the placement for somebody who can give good advice, especially or only when they've gone through something. So if I'm me, Teno, if I'm going to a Mercury and Taurus person in the first house, and I need advice as to how to, how to get money from my talents, they're gonna tell me everything. Okay, dude, first of all, you need to go to the bank and then open a savings account, and go to ABC. You know what I'm saying? Just tell me how they did something, because now they actually have something to say, because they know exactly what they're talking about. As I said in my previous video, Taurus and Mercury like to say shit with their chest. Mercury in Aries too, but they like to say it with their chest because they know exactly what they're saying, and because what they're saying is gonna make sense, because they've gone through it themselves. But a Mercury and Taurus person in the first house, as I'm continuing to say, they don't really they won't say anything unless it has to do with themselves, or if it's an opportunity to express something that they've gone through personally. Or maybe if you're just if you're not somebody that they can or that has been in their personal life, so they can't really personally value you like that, then they won't really have much to say to you, because they don't know you, they don't know anything about you, so they have nothing to say to you or about you, because they have nothing to build from, or they haven't built enough information, because of Taurus, you know, they're all about building. They haven't built enough information, they haven't built enough experiences with you to kind of formulate how to, not necessarily how to speak to you, but they haven't formulated like how you think, so they don't know how to come at you, you know, because once again, the Mercury and Taurus person always wants to, they have to take a seat back to like analyze the best way to explain or respond to you, that type of thing, you know. So yeah, that's Mercury and Taurus people in the first house. They don't really necessarily, they won't want to say anything unless A, they've gone through it personally, or B, you know, they know you, so they kind of know how to approach you, or they haven't, it's like they won't talk to you unless they've formulated a way of how to present a specific reply to you. That's why I think all Mercury and Taurus individuals will probably prefer texting you as opposed to calling you, because calling requires you to like think on your feet, you know, or even just having simple conversations with people, it requires you to think on your feet. And Mercury and Taurus is unlike Mercury and Geminis or Aries, where they can think on their feet and think very quickly and respond to you very quickly. They had to take time. Like, these are the type of people that they really will respond to you. I mean, at least they'll respond to you, unlike Aquariuses, but they'll respond to you like a week later, maybe a month later. They just really have to think about what it is that they want to say back to you, or even just to think about if it's worth communicating, you know what I'm saying? Like, they really have to take their time with this. And to other people, maybe like, dude, what the fuck, like, you're a weirdo, bro. And to them, it's like, nah, this is just how I fucking think. Like, this is just who it is. This is what it is. This is how it is. Then we have Mercury and Taurus in the second house. So second house just kind of amplifies the Taurus energy, because I mean, Taurus is home in the second house, you know, and so is Venus, but it's not that video. But Mercury in the second house, as I said, just amplifies the Taurus energy. This is for all my Aries rising people. So Mercury and Taurus in the second house, they, similar to the first house, as I said, they also won't necessarily respond back to you, or first of all, beautiful voices. These are people with gorgeous voices. Like, even if they can't sing, as I said, they can, whenever they speak, or maybe they might not have nice speaking voices, but when they sing, what? Or both. They can have beautiful speaking and singing voices, but also like I feel like this is the poetry type of placement, where you probably prefer to like text people. Also with this placement, you prefer to text people as opposed to phone calls or voice notes or FaceTime, you know, unless it's like for a business or you have an interview, so now you have to do it, you know. It's all about like different situations. But if it was up to you, you would probably prefer writing. I'd even say writing things down. Like, if we, you know, this placement gives me like medieval times where things had to be simple. Like, you have to get a pen or get a leaf with ink and then write it down and then send it to a bird and then wait like a month later to get a response back, that type of thing, you know. That's it's giving that. That's what this is giving. But whatever you're writing is very poetic and very, you know, it's practical and it makes sense, and you it's like you speak about things that you have been through, you know. You maybe not talk about your dreams, or if you do talk about your dreams, you talk about it in a way as if you're already, you know, you're doing something about it, or you're doing something to achieve this goal, but you're not talking about your dreams like, oh, I want to start a business and I want to meet Nicki Minaj one day. No, you're like, how you practicalize your thoughts and how you practicalize anything that you say is, I want to meet Nicki Minaj, so I went on to the internet and I bought a ticket so I could go to London, so because I know Nicki Minaj is going to be performing then. You see, so it's not like a nostalgic or perhaps like a dreamy type of conversational person. You like, when you communicate, it's, you have a plan basically. Like, everything you say has to have a plan, you know. So you're not like a Libra, Mercury in Pisces, Mercury in Leo, Mercury in Sagittarius, or even Mercury in Cancer. Okay, not Cancer. Mercury in Gemini, maybe. You know, we can just say anything and everything. You know, everything that you say is coming from things that you value. So essentially, you want to do the things that you value. So how you communicate them is in a way that you're already doing that, and you know how to help other people also practicalize this for themselves. But I think one thing, the negative part about it, is that you can be very aloof when someone is talking about things that you wouldn't talk about, or things like, for example, if you're around like a Mercury and Gemini and they're just talking up and down, fiction, make a sound, you know, if they're talking about whatever, even right now, you're probably like, dude, what the fuck was that about? But you're probably like, dude, like anything that you say has to kind of make sense, and when someone isn't making sense, it's either you switch off or get frustrated. I'm thinking about, like, if you watch Atypical, that dude, the main character, he gives me like Taurus and Mercury vibes, where everything that he studies and everything that he does has to have like a specific point. Like, he doesn't understand jokes, like, or sarcasm. You know, Mercury and Taurus people may not, they may, like I said, everything that they process has to take time. So they have to kind of sit back. Like, if you insult a Mercury and Taurus person in the first house, they won't really retaliate because they have to sit back and think, wait, were you being sarcastic? Were you joking? How do I respond to that? Should I respond to that? I mean, do I care? Does it affect my daily life routine? Does it? Does it affect how I see myself? No? Oh well, don't care about it. Boop. See? Simple. It's so simple. Like, I really wish I had that shit, because like how you think about things is so simple. Fuck. Anyway, yeah, that's it. Moving on to that. Is that all I have to say for the second house? Yeah, it's like things that you value. Just like that guy from Atypical, all he talks about is penguins, and I mean, obviously when he's with his friend Rashid, I think he talks about, like, when he's working, he knows how to help people. He knows where everything is compartmentalized. He knows, okay, the computer's over there, the phone's over. You know what I'm saying? Like, his life is very simplified like that. So whenever if he's at home, he knows how to speak to his mother and his sister, and he knows what he likes talking about, which is penguins all the time. And if I had to meet that guy and talk about astrology, he would be like, what does that have to do with penguins? And then just move on with his life, because he has to think, what the fuck does that have to do with anything I have got going on, And if it doesn't have anything to do with anything that I have going on, then I don't have to care about it. I don't even have to sit there and listen to it. But then again, he is that fictional character is autistic, but he gives me Taurus vibes. So yeah, we're gonna move on to Mercury and Taurus in the third house. So third house, I mean, Mercury loves to be in the third house because it's home. Yeah, Gemini rules the third house, so Mercury's like, oh yeah, But having Taurus here, having Mercury and Taurus in your third house, I would also say this makes someone a lot more friendly. Like, I think you're a lot more, I mean, Taurus energy is always gonna kind of, have one particular group of friends. They're not really social butterflies, they don't, hi, I'm Teno, hey, like a fucking, like I would, or like a Mercury and Libra would, or Gemini or Aquarius or Sagittarius or Leo, Aries sometimes, or Pisces, they won't come up in your face and introduce themselves and tell you about their lives, I think with this particular placement, because you'd be a Pisces rising, so I think, yeah, for my Pisces rising, I think you probably attract people to you, and I think it's a situation where you attract specific people that think like you, because I mean, obviously we all have to go through that phase in our lives where we have different friends, and then we have to choose which ones we actually fuck with because we have similar interests, but I think Mercury and Taurus people, because they also go through this, like, I mean, some other signs, they may still want to, even though they don't get along, or maybe not get along, maybe they don't have similar interests with this particular group, they'll still be friendly and still hang out with them while having multiple groups of people that they hang out with. The Mercury and Taurus people will attract their tribe and kind of stick to them, so it's like they have like a constant source, or they have constant people that they can talk to. So I think they learn how they process information is that of a Gemini is similar to that Gemini energy, where they can kind of pick up information a lot quicker. I'd even say with this placement, you're able to like, you're like a lot more quick with responding. You know, you're a lot more quick with like replying to people. You're probably not that iffy about like phone calls or something. I think maybe you're just, you're still going to be a lot more slow to reply, but not as slow as if your Mercury was in the second house, or in maybe the 8th house too, or like the 12th house, or like the 10th house, you know. I think you're a lot more quick to like respond to that too. Or maybe I would say how you process information is, because the 3rd house is also the house of familiarity in your neighborhood and things that you're familiar with and information that you've grown up with. So I think it could also be a situation where whenever you think about things, you also refer back to, like, have you learned about this when you were growing up? Did you learn something similar to this when you were at school? Have you met someone? Like, if you meet someone new, you're gonna kind of process the information, like, do I know someone like you? You know, is my mom like you? Do I have a cousin like you? Because I know how my cousin speaks, and I know when she's sarcastic, she sounds like this, or I know when she's serious, she does this. So, I mean, you're doing this, but do you remind me of someone? So, do I have like a reference point of how to reply to you? Do I have a reference point of how to respond? You know, that type of thing. That's how you process information. And if not, then that's when you're a lot more quiet. But if you have like someone that you can refer back to that's similar to this person that you're speaking to, then that's when you can kind of, you know, be a lot less slow in replying, because you know, like, you've gone through it. Like, you have a cousin that speaks exactly like that, or you have a friend who lives next to you who speaks like that, so you can reply in that particular way, you know, that type of thing. But I think this makes the Mercury and Taurus person in the 3rd house also, like, I would say you probably are really good at writing. Maybe you're even pursuing like a career in writing, journaling, being a journalist. I don't know, like writing books. Could be anything, really. Just anything that requires you to write things down in a practical, grammatical, vocabulary book. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know how to like write things down in like the best Venusian way possible. You know, like, you know how to set the mood in the things that you write to. But also, like, just with the friends that you have and just how you interact with the world, it's very pleasant. And you know how to, it's just the thing of you having a reference point. And if you don't, then that kind of makes you uncomfortable, because you don't know where this person is coming from, and you also don't want to assume shit, you know. So you want to know exactly, and that's why it'll take time for you to kind of like analyze this person. And then when you finally feel like, okay, I get it now, this is how it is, then that's when you can like respond. And that's when you can like be like, oh, okay, this ABCDEFG and HIJKLMNOP, period. You know, those vibes. Mercury in Taurus in the 4th house, right? So this is a sextile to the Taurus energy, because the 4th house is home in Cancer. And we know the 4th house has to do with your childhood and, you know, the home that you were raised up in and the energy that you feel most comfortable in. You know, so if you have Taurus and you're an Aquarius rising, shout out. So yeah, you like your 4th house, as I said, you know, is your childhood and how you grew up, and essentially your comfort zone, and it's just like the energy that you grew up with as a child in your upbringing as your home, which is like really important, and that shapes a lot of you and a lot of how we develop and whatever. But having your Mercury and Taurus in the 4th house, I think this is definitely someone who does not talk much. You know, unless maybe you grew up, like, because it really depends on, like, maybe you have your 4th house lord in the 5th house, and then your parents were a lot more expressive and talkative and and then you obviously grew up knowing how to express yourself and you communicate. But if not, I really feel like this is a placement that isn't very talkative. Like, you're very private, you know, obviously sensitive, but you're very, very quiet. You know, you're more so like of an observer, just watching and feeling things. You know, you're someone, I feel like, because you're quiet, like, you can listen to someone communicate and understand their emotional stances, or like where they're coming from emotionally, or what's this, emotional stance. It's not an emotional stance. Like, you know, when someone's speaking, so you can like kind of tell where they are emotionally, what they're feeling, that type. I think it is an emotional stance, whatever, but you get what I'm saying. Like, as a Mercury and Taurus in the 4th house person, you can kind of like understand and kind of feel out what it is that they're saying and why they're saying it, but not necessarily point out, okay, like, not, you won't be like a Mercury in Aries maybe, or Mercury in Gemini in the 4th house that would like maybe communicate that with you, or be like, I feel like you're saying that because you're sad. Are you sad? You're giving me a sad vibe. Are you okay? That type of thing. I don't think you'd be like, Taurus energy won't be like that. You'll kind of look at somebody, analyze the situation, like, okay, I know what you're feeling right now. I know you're with your friends right now, so you don't want to show that maybe you're feeling like shit. Or maybe, I don't know, because I use these examples because sometimes, we all want to hide the bad parts of ourselves, especially when we're in a bad mood, but we don't necessarily hide like when we're feeling happy, because when you're feeling happy, you show that, like, your body really shows it, unless you have like resting bitch face, which Tauruses will have whether they're happy or not. Bitch face every day, bro. Resting bitch face every day, bro. But yeah, for the most part, like, going back to the Venus and Taurus in the 4th house, like, they might know exactly where you are emotionally, and I think like they'll say like the minimal, like they'll say, they won't speak a lot. Like, for example, let me give you an example, right? Let me make this more practical. Let's say I'm Teno and I'm approaching a Mercury in Taurus in the 4th house person, and let's say I just got into an argument with my mother and I'm kind of feeling glummy-ish, but I know I'm gonna see my friends, so I'm a lot more excited, but obviously that glummy-ish feeling is still there, lingering with me, right? But I don't want to talk about it. So let's say I'm going, and one of my friends, or maybe not one of my friends, let's say I'm meeting this Mercury and Taurus person. This is like the 4th time we've met, so we're not really that close, but we're close enough. Like, not close enough, but we well acquainted, So let's say I'm there, I'm meeting up with my friends, and this Mercury in Taurus on the 4th house person is there, and I'm talking to them, and we're having a jolt and we're smoking whatever. Let's say I'm talking to this Mercury in Taurus person now, and I'm like, hey dude, you look really nice, I really like that shirt. A Mercury in Taurus will look at me like, thank you so much, my mom bought it for me. And I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. And I'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Anyway, so that, like the minimal things, but they'll respond to me based on my own emotional, like where I'm at emotionally. You know what I'm saying? So maybe if I was actually angry and I was like, so where did you get that from? So they'll pick up on the fact that I'm actually angry, and they may just be like, my mom bought it for me. Move on, because like they're gonna respond to your emotional stances. That's basically it. But they won't, like I said, because they don't really talk much unless it's like writing, or unless they're practically doing something for you, then they won't really say anything at all unless they actually have like a proper answer. And I'm gonna say this for all the Mercury and Taurus in the houses, like, because it really does like come down to that. Like, they won't really say much unless they have something to say, unless like their Mercury is in the 7th house also, where they want to relate to you and shit, like relate their thoughts to you, whatever. Oh, you know what, it actually doesn't even have to be like that. Also, they could also I have a friend like this who's their Mercury in Taurus in the 4th house. Or maybe it could be a situation, it doesn't have to, it could be that, or it could be a situation where you also communicate in specific moods. Like, you know how to talk to people and like set the tone, like the actual voice tone. Like, you know how to respond to people using the correct octaves, like the correct mood and the correct tone to respond to whatever tone that they are in. And you know how to soothe angry people just based on what you say. And you know how to like, I don't know, you just know how to like soothe people. You know how to like say the right thing in order to like either trigger someone emotionally, or maybe you know how to drag out specific emotions out of people just based on the simple things that you say, that type of thing. Or maybe whenever you say things, it sounds like not overly, but it feels like you coming from like an emotional standing point. So sometimes you could also be somewhat confusing, or you may sound like manipulative in a way. You might sound like whenever you say something, you're trying to get some kind of stability out of that, like emotional stability out of that. So maybe you might have friends over. I think maybe you would be the friend that like helps your friend get a job, or like, I don't know, use their talent in their favor while also wanting to benefit from that. Like, you could be the friend that you have a friend that knows how to, I don't know, knows how to like make plays or create like these exhibitions, but they never really do anything. So you may be like, you know what, I know the right words to say, in the right mood to say it in, right, to get you to like think about how to practicalize your life, but also how I can benefit from it. And not even on some shady shit, because you know, like, I help you, you help me, whatever, that type of thing. But you know, I feel like you just know how to do that with people or for people. Yeah, those vibes. That's the energy I'm getting. Moving on to Mercury in Taurus in the 6th house. I mean, in the 5th house, right, for my Capricorn risings. So we know 5th house is all about how you express yourself and how you have fun and how you enjoy yourself and how you express yourself, your self-expression, and just generally like the things that bring you joy and make you feel good, that type of thing, you know. That's the 5th house. So having Mercury in the 5th house, this makes someone very, I think this is a more expressive Taurus. Still very, you know, very not aloof, but like reserved in their communication. But whenever you say something, it's always like, it's like you always, it's like a lot more expressive, you know. You're like a lot more childlike with how you express yourself, as practical as it is. So I think your jokes are very, once again, your jokes are like very, very practical. They're not like, I don't know, mystic. Quoting DJ Khaled when he was dissing Tyler the Creator, there's nothing mysterious. Like, you don't make mysterious jokes, but you make jokes that actually like practical, that you've gone through. But generally how you process information is always going to be somewhat childlike. But I think you're naturally, you would probably be like a good actor with this placement, you know. Maybe not a good actor, maybe like a talk show host, yeah, like Steve Harvey, those vibes, like Steve Harvey, or even like a comedian. Maybe not like an actor, because that would require you to like put yourself in a specific role, like a person that you're not, and that would also take time for you to like, you know, formalize or like tell yourself to be this character. So I think like a talk show host, like, you know, where you have to ask practical questions to someone while still being funny, you know. But I think how you naturally process information, I think, like I said, it's very animated, but you know how to like condense that animation and make it real so that people can like, it's like realistic humor. I think these could be the people that could have dark humor too, depending on like how you grew up. Because if you grew up in like a shitty circumstance, then you know how to like tell that story, but in a very funny way, but like in a very detailed way. Not detailed, but like practical way. Let's say detailed way. I was refraining from saying detailed way because of like the Virgo. Yes, Virgos are a lot more detailed and Tauruses aren't really detailed. But yeah, we'll say detailed because like you're still like using like you're going back to that place where it actually happened, and you know exactly how it happened because you were there, right? So you can tell that story exactly how it happened, aka detailed, you know. Or even whatever, even if you were in school, you know how to kind of like, I don't know, whenever a teacher would say something, like let's say you were in science and you were learning about combustion, you were probably like, what the fuck? Like in your head you're like, wow, combustion is such a weird word, what the fuck? And then, you know, just making yourself laugh, whatever. Or maybe you're probably one of those people that like you could say anything and it sounds very humorous just because of that 5th house energy, you know. So whenever you give advice, you know how to like make someone feel better, or even just like you having a conversation with someone, even having a conversation with yourself. I think you know how to make yourself laugh. Those vibes, like you know how to make yourself laugh, bro. Yeah, but I think going into a career of like being a talk show host, like Steve Harvey vibes, yeah, it's giving that. And then if you have Mercury in Taurus in the 6th house, Mercury loves being here because Virgo is home in the 6th house, and you know Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So this makes you a lot more like, I also think a lot more irritable. Because if someone, like how you process information is very, because this is an earth house, right? So how you process information is very, for my, Taurus in the 6th house. Sagittarius rising. Yeah. I think, like, as I was saying, you could be a lot more irritable, especially if someone isn't, like, getting to the point quickly enough. Because you're already picking apart the details as to what they're saying, right? And while you're picking apart the details, you're trying to, like, come down to the simplification or the simplified version of what they're saying. So it's like if someone isn't already doing that, you could silently get irritated or silently just like, you know, get annoyed. I also think this makes you a lot more, like, you're very business orientated, and I wouldn't be surprised if you were like someone that you pick up information easily, you know, because you're very, like, how your brain is very organized with this. I wouldn't be surprised if you're minimalist, you know, you don't really like too much, like your room probably doesn't have a lot going on. It's very, like, you have your clothes, a desk, a table, you know, maybe one mat, and there aren't many, or if there are art paintings, they're like, I don't know, art paintings that make sense. Like an art painting of a flower. That makes sense. It's a flower. But if it's an art painting of, like, for example, this. What the fuck is that? What is that? No. This depends on other things, but, like, just to get to the simplification, or to get to the conclusion of, like, Taurus, Mercury, and the sixth house people, just, like, simplify everything. You know, your house is simplified. How you dress. How you think. You know, it's like I said, you can also have thoughts in your head, right? You can have many thoughts in your head, but it'll be a situation where it's like all these thoughts are happening all at once, but like, okay, what's going on? Like, what am I gonna do with this? And if there's nothing that you can actually do, then you just kind of want to shrug it off, like, oh, whatever, this thought was stupid. Or, you know what I'm saying, this thought was not necessarily, I'm not necessary. So then you get kind of frustrated or irritated and be like, what the fuck, like, wow. Anyway, you know, that type of thing. I think you understand fast talkers. Like, you can sit down with someone who talk, like an air Mercury, you can talk really, really, really fast, and you can, because you're so quick with understanding things, and you can, like, really, like, understand the details of everything that they're saying. You're just gonna take all of that and then simplify it, and then say, like, one sentence to answer everything that they were saying. Just one sentence, and then boom, keep quiet again. Look at them like blank face, you know. But if someone isn't, like, you know, coming at you with something that actually makes sense, then I feel like you can get very irritable or just very annoyed or not as patient, you know. I also think, like, are you someone that can sit and listen to someone talk about something that you know nothing about? No, I don't think so. I think you would probably, if someone is talking to you about, like, something that they're, like, a hobby or a topic that they're interested in, and they're getting money from it, or they're studying about it, then I feel like you'd be a lot more keen on sitting down and be like, oh wow, I didn't know you can get money from, I don't know, talking about trees. I don't know you could do that. I don't know you could, you know, shit like that. But if someone is just talking about it and they're not telling you how they've benefited from that, or how they're gaining some kind of stability from that, then you're not really interested in that, you know. But, or maybe it could be a situation where, like, if they're all over with the topic, then you don't really like that, because you like consistency. So if we're talking about one thing, and then it's like, okay, yeah, I can do this. But if we're talking about many different things, then you don't have the time to, like, you know, analyze the details of each conversation. Or, like, because sometimes you can have a conversation, and that conversation leads you to this. Then you're like, okay, anyway, coming back to this, you know, you don't really like that, because it takes time for you to analyze this conversation, and then jumping from this already and then coming back there doesn't give you time to, like, register, you know. So you really need to, like, pick apart the details of one conversation or one topic, you know, and then study that, get the ramifications of that. Even in school, you probably, like, you like, in each class, you probably had to take notes for this, or, you know, maybe not. Like, for example, let's say you're in math class, you had to, like, it's like you had to immerse yourself in maths, you know, and not necessarily think about, I have to do my science project, I have to do that. You really have to, like, fully immerse yourself in this, so you can study, like, the details of whatever subject that you're doing, and then be satisfied with that, and then go to the next thing, and then do the same thing, detail, and then, okay, I'm done with that, and then, you know, that type of thing. But I would even say with this placement, you probably enjoyed going to school, just because of the routine, and just because, you know, like, okay, I know how, it's like, yeah, just because of the routine, you know, you like doing things in routine. Definitely with this, you think in routines. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. And then having your Mercury in Taurus in the 7th house. Now this is, I feel like this is the placement that will make you a lot more talkative, because like 7th house is all about relating, and because it is an air house, it's the house of of Libra. Also there's like a Venusian effect, bonus effect, because both Taurus and Libra own the 2nd house, and the 7th house are ruled by Venus, the planet Venus. But yeah, with this, I think you're definitely someone who likes being in relationships. I think you're the type of person that, like, you have a best friend and you have a boyfriend. Like, that's, if your life could be like that simple, you have one best friend, you have one boyfriend, you have like dogs and cats, and you work one job, and you know the specific people that you talk to on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, this would be heaven to you, because you know how to relate your life to, like, you know, for my Scorpio rising, you know, because I mean, also Scorpio is a fixed sign, so if there's like a group of people that they can just stick to for the rest of their lives, then this would be it. But I feel like with this, I think you are really good in math with this. If you have Taurus in any of your air houses, or even earth houses, you were really good in math, or really good in or even the 1st house. You were probably really, really good with math and science and all of that shit, you know. Really good for you. But yeah, having your Mercury in Taurus in the 7th house, you're definitely someone that constantly thinks about relationships. Having Taurus Mercury, you're also thinking about relationships, but having it in the 7th house just kind of amplifies thinking about relationships and thinking about, like, damn, I wish I had just one person to talk to, because that's really all you need. Like, just a consistent supply of people that you can always rely on to express anything that you want to share, you know. I think this is someone who likes to share things that they personally value, you know. They share things that they possess, in terms of like if they have specific thoughts about a specific topic, then they would like to share and, you know, relate that to whoever they're talking to. It'll be the same, like, with what am I saying? No, not the same. Like, I think this is, as I said, a lot more better, like a better placement to have in terms of like socializing. But actually, no, I'm like, because you have a Scorpio rising. Nah, yeah, you're probably just someone that doesn't. Yeah, man. Unless maybe you have, like, let's say you have like a Gemini sun, Gemini moon. Then I think maybe that would modify it. But yeah, you know what? I'm analyzing this placement now. I don't. I think you have like a particular group of people. Like, how this is how you process information is, if I can just have a few group of people that I can express all my thoughts to, right, and have a consistent flow of people, or consistent supply of people that I can express my thoughts to, then that's all I have to do. Because why express my thoughts to someone that I don't care about, who may not know where I'm coming from, or I don't know where they're coming from, you know? Those vibes. But yeah, I think how you process information and how you generally think and communicate is always like to relate to somebody. You know, you like relating things that you personally value, or not personally, but things that you value to other people. But you like to relate those thoughts to people that you are familiar with, you know, because they get you and you can kind of get them, or you know where they're coming from and they know where you're coming from. So there's no like iffiness or mistakes or if, ands, or buts. You know what I'm saying? Those vibes. Guys, not me forgetting to make Mercury in Taurus in the 8th house. Wow. Anyway, so Mercury in Taurus in the 8th house, people. So, okay, the 8th house is all about things that are like behind the scenes, you know, your ulterior motives, or anything that is not presented, but you can feel. Like, you can sense someone is in your face saying, hi, but you can feel that this, like, they're here for something, but they won't say it directly, but they're here for something. You know what I'm saying? That's 8th house. Like, that's suspicion, you know. It's about secrets and your desires and lying and covering the truth and staying in the dark about something, or putting someone in the dark about something. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. But it's also about merging, you know, merging souls and merging emotions, or kind of being so completely infused with someone that you become one with them. Like, they share everything that they are with who you are, or not even yeah, you share everything together. Like me as Tenno, I come with Dylan, oh, not Dylan, I don't know who. It's me, Tenno, and Fernando. Fucking me and Fernando, we love each other so much that we are with each other for so long that we, merge everything that we have, like money and resources and our souls and our minds and everything like that. And then Taurus is the very opposite of that energy, because Taurus is about, value systems and things that you already have, things that you already possess right now in the present, and things that you value. Because, you would value the things that you would have. Like, I have a phone, and this phone provides me with specific things, so I value what it already gives to me. Like, gives, not will give, but gives, like, right now. You know what I'm saying? So that's the opposition. So having Taurus in the 8th house, having your Mercury and Taurus in the 8th house, I would say, you value the fact that you are very psychic, and that you already, okay, before I continue with that, let me say that you're already not a very communicative person. That gives me that energy. You're not very communicative, and you don't always say exactly what you mean, because you already understand how to manipulate people. But because of that, you are already assuming that everybody else around you does that, especially when you first meet them. You're always someone that thinks, does this person have ulterior motives? Or, I don't know, you like, that's suspicious. Like, that makes you like, see, anytime we have 8th house placements, it's gonna make us a lot more suspicious, a lot more least likely to trust easily. And even Taurus energy, but I think Taurus is a lot more accepting, you know what I'm saying? But having it in the 8th house, you're a lot more paranoid also, but with the things that you think, and you think all the time, so I would assume that you are a lot more paranoid than a Taurus Mercury in the 7th house or the 9th house or whatever, you know what I'm saying? That type of thing. So having this, what you're constantly thinking about is like things that people don't say out loud, you know what I'm saying? Things that other people are even ashamed or too guilty to say out loud. Like, sometimes we all have like guilty pleasures, but they're only guilty because we've been made to feel bad about being pleasured by that. For example, having sex, like people sometimes will make you feel, especially like in this patriarchal society where guys will make you feel bad for being promiscuous, you know what I'm saying? So instead of outwardly saying I'm promiscuous, you'll do things secretly or behind the scenes, you know what I'm saying? And that behind the scenes, that is 8th house type of shit. So that's what your mind is constantly on, you know what I'm saying? And that's what you're constantly trying to read into with other people, trying to see what other people's desires are and what they're, as I say, what they're not saying, what they're not showing. That's what you're constantly going to be thinking about. But when you do communicate, you're going to be expressing a lot of these things that people don't talk about. Like, you're probably the Taurus Mercury. If you're not saying anything, you're talking about things that people aren't willing to say out loud. So you would be the Taurus Mercury person that when you do say something, you're like, I think it's really funny that when Ashley came over here, she smiled at Andrew. I think maybe they're having a thing. Like, you're just always reading into things. Like, you're always perceiving through things, trying to see what like people aren't showing. As I've said, I feel like that's the best way to put it, really. You're just like constantly analyzing things that aren't being presented. And I think that's something that you value about your own processes. And you may even value the fact that you're not trustworthy, and you value the fact that you're not very communicative, and you value the fact that you're always thinking about these taboo things that are in the dark that nobody wants to talk about. You value your thought processes, and you value that you're very low key. But I think with this placement, you're very good with money too, your own and other people's money. And you may constantly want to be in a relationship knowing that that relationship will always provide some kind of security, because it's better to have two people's monies and bank accounts than have one, that type of thing. So yeah, that's all I have to say. And then we're gonna move on to the 9th house. If you have Mercury in Taurus in the 9th house, so 9th house we know is about like traveling and like higher education and like talking about like spirituality and experiences and like, you know, philosophical points of views of the world and like this God complex of how to think about things in the bigger picture and like, existentialism and all of that, you know, that's the 9th house. Having Taurus here, I think this makes someone a lot like these are the stubborn teachers, you know. I mean, you're naturally a teacher, but you're not someone that you're not necessarily compromising with your own religion, because how you think about things is always going to stem from what you believe in, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are your spiritual views and what's your spiritual stance, once again. And I feel like with this, you're very like you're kind of like an Aries, where you have one specific way of explain, like you're not diplomatic in seeing things from different points of views. It's like if something works for you, if a specific religion or spiritual system maybe use crystals and whatever, so that's how you see the world. Maybe you study astrology like me, so that's how you see the world, you know, through astrology, you know. But you don't necessarily, it's like you would fail to maybe you'd be more reluctant to have a conversation with someone that doesn't share the same spiritual belief systems as you, because whenever you communicate, it's always coming from a point of like spirituality and like, you know, like it's like how do I simplify. It's like, for example, let's say you're a Christian. I'm going to use this example because it's going to be somewhat simple, but let's say I'm a Christian and I have Taurus and Mercury in the 9th house, right? I'm a Christian, so whenever I say anything, it's always going to be based on like what I've studied from the Bible and how to approach different people just based on what I've studied. So how you process information is always going to be backed and supported by your spiritual beliefs and your spiritual stance points, you know. So whenever you have a conversation with someone, if you can't reply to that conversation, or if you can't, this is like, you probably won't get along with people that aren't in the same spirituality or religious points of views as you know, because it's going to be difficult for you to have conversations like that, you know, because you'll feel like, oh man, I'm faking it, you know, or I don't really care about whatever you're saying, especially because it has nothing to do with I believe in. So, you know, that type of thing, because essentially how you're going to process information, how you're going to communicate with people is like I said, always going to be backed up by whatever spiritual system that you come from. And if you don't have a spiritual system and you're like an atheist or whatever, it's still the same thing. You like, every conversation that you have and how you process things is going to be based on like, nothing is real, God is just a weird concept and whatever. See, it's going to be like that. It's always going to be based on a spiritual belief, right? So I'm going to make an example with myself also. If I had Mercury and Taurus in the 9th house, I have something similar to that, because I have Libra in the 9th house and my Mercury's in Libra. It's like when I have conversations with people, I'm always kind of like looking into, okay, you're saying this, so you're probably maybe that's to do with astrology, but still, whatever. Like, okay, I'm talking to this person and they're talking about this specific thing, so they must be a Christian. Yeah. And I already know how Christians think, so this is probably how this girl thinks. So, I mean, it could also be, like, I think maybe when you were in school, it was probably a lot more difficult for you to focus, because, like, it had nothing to do with spirituality or higher education, and you were doing the same thing, studying the same, or maybe you liked that, or maybe you knew how to apply your spiritual systems with whatever it is that you're learning, that type of thing. I don't know, you only know. But for the most part, yeah, that's Mercury and Taurus in the 9th house. Always thinking about spirituality and having like this weird, beautiful, spiritually backed up point of view about things, you know. So it makes you a good teacher and a very stubborn teacher, and you can teach the fuck out of whatever spiritual system or religious system that you are in, you know. But yeah, moving on to if you have Mercury in Taurus in the 10th house, right? So this is 10th house is your reputation in Capricorn house. So Capricorn is also an earth sign. So this adds more earthy energies or more practical energies to what you study. You know what I'm saying? It's getting a bit dark. But anyway, having your Mercury in Taurus in the 10th house makes you kind of like the Mercury in Taurus in the 6th house, where you kind of, you're not so detail oriented, but like anything that you have to say has to deal with like, what does this have to do with what I have going on? Like, okay, you're telling me about the trees and the stars, but what does that have to do with like, how are you getting money from that? I mean, unless you have a channel about it and you're getting paid from it, then okay, I'll sit there and listen to that, because now you're talking business, you know? You're like very business orientated. And I feel like whoever, I don't know if T.I. has, no, T.I. he's a Libra, so he doesn't have that. But I think like a song that would describe you is, if it's not about the money, don't be calling me. Yep, no. You know what I'm saying? You're very, very business orientated, you know? And obviously, like, I feel like you'd probably want to relate to people that are in the same career field as you are, you know? And if people aren't, then you're definitely a lot more reserved, because how you're gonna process whatever information that is given to you that is from someone who isn't in the same field as you are, or doesn't have the same goals as you do, you'll just kind of look at them like, oh, I have nothing to relate to. I mean, obviously if they need you to contribute your 2 cents to them, then you'll say whatever, but I feel like you'd prefer to not say anything if it isn't related to whatever goal you have going on. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, what's on your mind constantly is, how am I going to practicalize and, you know, make whatever I have going on like a longevity thing. Like, how am I gonna, like, that's what's on your mind. How do I make my shit better? How am I protecting my business? How am I protecting my reputation for all my Taurus in the Leo rising? These for all my Leo risings, right? So I mean, naturally, personally, you're very expressive, but through world, you're very reserved. And I feel like these are the type of people that are they're in some kind of artistic field, you know. You probably only, if you've always wanted to be a filmmaker, then that's something that you're gonna do always, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, like, you have friends and whatever, but it'll even be a situation where, like, if you knew someone from childhood or maybe from primary, and I mean, obviously you guys were friends because you're in the same school, so you see each other every day, so you might as well be friends. But once you get to a situation where you guys are in university now, and, you know, you guys are actually working or studying to be whatever it is that you want, it's gonna be like, the only way of connecting with them is gonna be going back to things that you used to do and used to say when you were in primary or in high school. But I mean, I guess you wouldn't mind like catering to that, but it's also gonna feel kind of because you know you're not there. Like, you don't think that way anymore, because right now all you're thinking about is things that are happening in your life now, and how to stabilize your life now, and how to like actually get your life going on, and how am I gonna make my reputation cool, and who can I connect with that can contribute to that, and how can I contribute to those networks that I'm, you know, establishing. You know, and if people aren't, like, let's say you are with a friend that, you know, you don't really share the same goals anymore. Like, I mean, of course, you're gonna have that venetia and comfortability and, you know, do whatever it is that you can to make them feel comfortable. But at the end of the day, it's gonna feel uncomfortable because you know you're not there. Those vibes, you know, those vibes. But yeah, very business orientated, very practical, you know. I feel like you give me I'm the boss kind of energy, and you are Leo rising, so you're a fun boss to be around. Like, you know how to make jokes, but you also know how to be like, okay guys, we're done with that. Let's get back to the money. Those vibes. Or let's get back to the goal, essentially. You know, like you're someone, like, as tired as you may be, you're gonna get your shit done. Unlike other signs where if they feel tired, they're like, yo, this can see me, I'm gonna go sleep. But you will do it, you know, because you know how important it is. Like, you know a lot better how it would feel to reap the benefits of hard work, as painful as it will have been or has or is. Those vibes. If you have Mercury and Taurus in the 11th house, so 11th house we know is the house of Aquarius, so this is the house of, you know, originality and unknown things and being unique and just very weird, not philosophical, but more existential or so. And by existential, I mean, like, you know, we're not the only things alive in this earth, you know, like those, like the 9th house and the 11th house have a lot of things in common because they are like broad and big-minded and hey, Earth isn't the only thing that exists, or this little thing isn't the only thing that exists. Like, these are like out of the box or out of the world kind of houses, and the 12th house too. But in the 11th house, if you have Mercury Taurus in the 11th house for the Cancer risings, right? So you're definitely someone, I think you a lot more, like, you know how to network with it and like kind of stabilize yourself with the people and places that you're associated with. So like, for example, you know how to, because you're a Cancer rising, right? So okay, wait, let me say this. Cancer risings naturally know how to manifest specific people that they need in whatever phase in their lives that they're in, you know. Like, they know how to manifest stable people. Excuse me. They manifest people in the... Okay, let me say this. They know how to manifest people in their lives that kind of represent some kind of comfort or thing that they used to do, or people that they used to know when they were young and they were still fragile, you know. Because, I mean, Cancer risings are water rising. So water is all about the past and connecting to the past. So with having your Mercury, having Taurus in the 11th house for you, naturally you connect to people that do have that. Like, you associate yourself with people that do remind you of things and people and whatever that you used to do in the past, you know, even if it's like in macro or in micro ways, you know. But for the most part, having your Mercury and Taurus in the 11th house, this makes you like, yes, you have unique, super dope ideas that you want to share with the world and that you want to capitalize on, you know, your very unique ways that you know how to stabilize and you know how to make money from that. Whether it's like digital, like graphic design, I see that happening, you know, because it is like a digital, and Aquarius is all about, well, the 11th house is all about social media and like digital things and, you know, connecting to people on a larger platform, you know, the masses, that type of thing. I think you're definitely someone that would probably benefit, like, being a graphic designer or any kind of like digital designer, digital work, that type of thing. I mean, we're all really moving to a digital lifetime or digital space in our lives with this Aquarius age, whatever. But I feel like having Mercury and Taurus in the 11th house makes you someone that's like, how you process information, like, you have a specific, unique way that you value of doing things. This makes you, I would say, maybe not reserved. It's just kind of like, you know how people think, just because you can also kind of perceive into someone's mind. And I think the reservedness will come from, do I care? Like, is this thought, do you think as big as I think? That type of thing, you know. Because I mean, with Taurus energy, it's always going to link back to, do I value this? Because you essentially value your unique thoughts and you will value your unique way of thinking, you know, that you probably shocking, but I think you only like to express that with people that are like-minded, and you probably find those people when you actually go on social media, because I mean, social media is like such a big platform where you can find, you know, things that you resonate with. Like, if you're into dogs, there's many dog pages. If you're into like fucking, there's porn. If you're into, you know what I'm saying, there's so many different ways of whatever, you know. But I think with you literally only want to associate yourself and communicate to people that share the exact ideals as you do, or the same thoughts that you do. And people that don't, it's very annoying for you to have to like want to explain yourself to these people. But if it's in a situation where you know you have no other choice to be there, you're probably here, you know. Or you probably, if you're gonna spark that conversation and people aren't necessarily participating, then you probably want to dip, you know. But for the most part, how you think is, if my big thoughts don't match yours, then I have no business talking to you at all. Like, that's it, you know. But I also think with this, you definitely someone that would prefer like online thinking, like online communicating, online chats, you know, group chats with people that share the same thoughts as you do, or share the same interests as you do, and that type of thing, you know. Definitely a lot more better at communicating. Or maybe you're like a lot more sarcastic, but your sarcasm is maybe a lot more dry. It's not like funny, humoristic sarcasm. It's more so like, really? Oh, you know, like, just, oh, like, it's like how you probably a person that likes to joke about like let's say you're into astrology, you know, because that is like 11th housey. You're into astrology. You probably make jokes about like the planets and stuff, you know. And someone who doesn't get that, they look at you like, but someone who isn't like laughing at that joke, you look at them like that type of thing, you know. But you still know you value that, so I'm gonna continue talking about that. And if you don't fuck with that, then I'm just gonna go on my phone and, you know, out like let my thoughts out to people who can understand that or understand how I think. That type of thing. But yeah, moving on, last but not least, to the 12th house, Mercury in Taurus in the 12th house. These people, okay, Mercury also doesn't like the 12th house. Mercury doesn't like the 9th house or the 12th house. So I think with this placement, you're definitely someone that, you know, whenever you say something, you're definitely someone that's going to be a lot more quiet. Like, you speak through music, you know. The only time you do talk is if you're like talking about how much you love a song or something like that. Because Mercury in 12th house people talking for them is really difficult. Like, sometimes they may feel like, what is the point in talking? Like, a Mercury Taurus person will probably make you feel like their language is making you feel loved or feel understood. There was this one episode of I think it was American Horror Story. I think it was American Horror Story. But there was this one series, this one particular episode about like these two hippies, and one of them, this one person was a lady and the other one was a driver, and this one lady never said anything. Oh, the way she could. Oh no, it wasn't American Horror Story. It was the animal. Orange is the New Black, right? Yes. So it was this one lady who, she was a hippie and she always traveled with this guy, but she never said anything, and the only way she would communicate is like her eyes and her hands and her facial gestures. But she would make you feel understood whenever you say something, you know. And I feel like that's the Mercury in Taurus. Like, I feel like with this particular placement, you're obviously very artistic. I would assume that your room is also very messy, you know. I would also assume that like you know how to sell your art, but actually knowing how to persuade people and having the gift of gab, that's probably not something that you are good at. This is for what? Taurus, Gemini risings. Damn. Gemini risings. Okay, maybe at first. Shit. Okay, see, it's gonna change a lot now. Okay, let me say this. I think you also, just like I've said with all the other Taurus placements, you say things if you know what you're gonna say is gonna make sense. Because for the most part, if you say something and you haven't really thought about it, you know it's not gonna make sense. Because essentially, your thoughts and how you process information it's not in a way where it's like not the way Mercury likes to do it. So whenever you do say something, you probably like stutter or so, or you mumble, or you know, your words fumble, you know. So you really have to like take your time to say something, because if sometimes people look at you like, what did you say? And like it can feel like, oh damn, people aren't understanding me, so you rather not say anything. So I think the only time you would communicate is if you're doing something, like doing acts of service for somebody. Because I mean, 12th house is also about like collective service, you know, helping like the collective, or feeling the collective's energy and helping the collective in that way. So I think with this placement, it'll like, it's the same shit, you know. The way to help people is just like actually responding to something, is if someone is asking you to do something, so you can actually do that for someone. Or maybe if you communicate, it's to ask, do you want it to be green or red? And then boom, see, like minimal. It's giving minimal communication. It's giving, I don't really say much unless it really matters. Those vibes. Otherwise, like, you hear, you know, definitely like a musician vibe, poetry vibe, slam poetry vibe. But yeah, you probably would hate being a journalist or a news reporter, because that's not you. But yeah, that concludes Mercury and Taurus through the houses. I hope you enjoyed this video. In my next video, we will do Mercury and Gemini through the houses, period. And yeah, thank y'all.